The best things come to those who wait. Hello and welcome to another MrBetaByte video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as this is part 2 of looking at the series of remotes that we began with in part 1 and turned out to be so monumental I had to split it into 2 parts. Part 1 was many months ago, and I've only just really got time now to have a quick look at these 2. Now I will say I did actually start recording this one, actually testing this one, and for what I remember it tests fine, but do you think I can find those recordings? I can't find them anywhere. So we'll go through it again. I'll probably go through it a slightly different way to what I remember I did originally. Yeah, this is actually for, it's not for a video recorder, it's actually for reel-to-reel. Oh, I can't even open the box. Good start. So, oh gosh, I didn't realise there was AAA batteries in there, with Duracells. I would have done it a lot sooner if I'd realised. But yeah, I was so sure I'd done it, and then I put it to one side and completely forgot about it, and I forgot to send it back. Had an email the other day. Oh, did you ever? How did you get on with that remote control receiver? It's like, oh, pounds, yes, of course. Totally forgot about that. So RM-80. So this goes on your onto your tape deck. Then this is the commander. So yeah, I see why I included all the AAA batteries, but I am going to be using my own. Might as well. Yeah, they're not actual buttons as well, which is quite nice. They're actually touch. Interesting. So yeah, because these are for professional tape decks. Don't know whether it's reel-to-reel, or I suppose I could find out, sort of reverse engineer it from the model number. But yeah, apparently the remote is okay, but the receiver is bad. So yeah, let's get some batteries in these and crack on. Okay, so first of all, let's test the remote. So play, fast forward, stop. Don't know whether, I mean, it's picking it up. Don't think it really knows what to make of the, yeah, you can see it flashing as well. So when I'm pressing play, see it goes red then blue. Oh, it's got different codes. Yeah, so when I would let go of play, it goes blue. Interesting. Okay, well, that's working. So, yeah, let's move on to this thing. I put batteries in it. I don't know actually why I bothered, because I think what I want to do first, I do have a manual for this incidentally. It's provided to me with the person, from the person that sent this in. So and I think that's going to be a good clue as to what might be wrong with this. I wonder if I did actually have a look at this now. I'm really doubting myself. So tab at the back pushes out. And I think the bottom, does the bottom pull off? Oh, I see. I think. No, I don't. Oh, yes. So slide this over. I think I have had this part because I remember before struggling. You slide this over once this is pulled back. You can slide it back. So yeah, there we go. Oh, that's just pulled out. That's fine. That tape doesn't look very original, and that doesn't look too healthy, but it looks okay. Yeah, some wet there from previous battery leakage, but the board itself looks fine. There's a tiny bit of corrosion there, but it's not through the print at all. So I can only assume got a break in a wire somewhere, or yeah, wires have been replaced at some point. So yeah, now there's some rot in the wires there by the looks, possibly. I'd have a closer look at that. That is looking very much like that could be our culprit. Maybe. But everything else looks pretty good. Done a bit more work on this, and I thought I'd check the continuity of both these battery leads and also the leads from the PCB to the actual connector. The connector doesn't look too special, but it is actually providing good continuity anyway. But what I've found, is sort of what I suspect, is that the that red lead there has got some rot in it, and that is actually totally open circuit. So I'm going to get and change that. You can see there's a little bit of rot there as well, so I might just clean around there. It's just the only place where there's a little bit of corrosion, and it sort of ties in. I think it ties in with there. So two screws there, so that folds over to there. Yeah, not really, to be fair, but if it gets it going, I'm happy with that. So yeah. The only other slight thing is I wonder if the LED should actually light when it's being triggered, but I don't know whether it will only light when it's plugged in. So yeah, could be interesting. But anyway, I'm going to strip this back a bit, this red one, and yeah, I've got enough to play with there. Strip back the red one, and we'll resolder it and see what happens. Let's crack on. So that is now working. We now have continuity. So, and I think what this is it's like a 5 volts feed in to actually switch the unit on, sort of out of standby. So basically, it's not on all the time. I need to check that with the manual, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So yeah, I can generate that. I'm probably not going to successfully get it onto the end of that, but if I put it on the board there and just check everything else works, if it does, then great. If it doesn't, then yeah, let's see what we can do. But yeah, I'm not convinced about these wires. That looks quite not very nice. I might trim that down a bit. But yeah, so I'll do a bit of investigation and we'll take it from there. Looking at the manual, if I short those two pins together, that puts it into test mode. These levels become right 1. So I still think we've got extra problems with this. I don't think it does actually need to be plugged in for it to be sending signals. It must have a very low standby current. But let's put in the battery anyway. I think there's more wrong with it than meets the eye, unfortunately. Whoops. I'm just wondering if you're getting any output at all. Let's just take the power off for a second. It might actually be an idea to check we've got like 6 volts or so on this before we do anything else, really. I know I've checked them for continuity, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to carry voltage, or there isn't something else, because these battery terminals are pretty ropey. So it'd be quite funny if that's all it was. So I don't know if I can show you probably. Let's go anywhere here, really. Yes, we've got 6 volts, that's fine. The side problem I need is need like 4 sets of hands. 5 volt peak to peak when there's a signal coming in. Where does that go? That goes to pin 14. Shield. 5 volts peak to peak. Well, if I somewhere I've got some crocodile clips, so it would have been quite useful right now. You can actually hear the remote. You can actually hear the remote making a noise when you press transmit. Pin 14, which is that one there, goes round there. 16, pin 14. I'm really going to struggle to do this because I've got to put a probe here. I suppose I could do it. Oh, I've just got 6 volts across it all the time. Can't be right. I must be reading that wrong. With signal input 6 volts, right? With 6 volt, with signal input. So on that resistor there, I should get 6 volts. And I don't. I don't know whether I need test to be on. Yeah, so it's not receiving. There's nothing coming through the receiver. Let's press play because that's... Yeah, I should be getting 6 volts there. So, and it goes through to 13. So with signal input, 6 volts. I'm just double checking myself. Without 0. So I've got no inputs coming in from the sensor, and I suspect that's probably, I think the driver chip's fine because I've got a constant 5.5 peak to peak. I mean, obviously I'm measuring DC, so yeah, but I know it's there. Doesn't actually give a frequency for that, so it's the fact that it's there. But yeah, measuring here. Now I don't know whether having the test on is changing that, so I might take this back off, this bit back off, and just check again. Yeah, I think the receiver's died. But yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so let's try that again. Taking the bridge off from the so where was it on that resistor there? Yeah, nothing. Oh, does it help if I put the battery back in? Fixed it. Okay. So it's quite cool because I can just very quietly, you probably can't, but I can very quietly hear the remote. Yeah, nothing. So the fault's going to be in that can. Could be the receiver itself. I have known those go dead. Or it's the chip that it drives or connects to. If it was easy to take apart, it's fairly easy to take apart. I could at least check it as a diode. It does look a bit bashed, actually. Oh, am I going to take it apart? Thing is, the owner of this sort of, it's only really just to have a quick look. If I can't get it sorted easily, then don't bother, because he has got another one. It's just he thought it'd be nice to have the two and have this really more as a spare, I think. But I suppose we can give it a go. I'm sort of reluctant to go too far now. It's like I say. Ooh. I'm sort of going beyond what I was asked to do, but yay. There we have it. So there's the receiving LED. That's testing okay. Yeah, so when I press play, it drops. So that LED is fine. Sorry, receiving unit is fine. So I'm putting my money on it's going to be that chip. Not very scientific diagnosis, but that's looking very much like what it is. I suppose we could try and have a look at pin 3, pin 5. So pin 3 and pin 5. Just put that in there. Pin 3 is that one. And do I have to? I should be getting a signal. Pin 5. And I should be getting something there as well. I should be getting that 5.5 volts. Just got nothing. Does that mean that chip is bad? Because I have 5 volts DC on there, but I don't just see that earthly just starting to move towards the somewhere it shouldn't. So yeah, I'm pretty confident it's the this chip here basically, which is a micro PC 1373H. So probably replacing that would fix it. So I'll have a word and see if that's an option, and if it is, we'll change it. You can tell this is Pro because you can actually move the cable grip up and down the cable. Once it's out of there, you can actually slide it along, which is great for sort of replacing it when it gets damaged. So yeah, well done, Sony. Well, I didn't film quite a bit of this, but I had the go ahead to change that chip. Managed to get one from Nico on eBay, UPC 1373. Isn't an H, but the one that I did fit, it's fixed it. One thing that did throw me, and it was blaringly obvious when I realised what I'd missed, but I know why I did miss it. Now, when I was testing this, I had 6 volts right the way through the whole unit, and that's without it being, because obviously I don't have a deck, not plugged in. But as soon as I changed the chip, it appeared to be completely dead, and basically I was getting 6-ish volts coming to this transistor here, and this transistor here actually is acting as a switch. It switches on the unit when you plug into the cassette recorder. How I did it before I sort of realized what was going on is I actually put a few volts, about 5 volts actually. I didn't put the full 6 because it was enough to test it, just on the rail on the other side of the switching transistor, and that's when I realized actually I had fixed it, and then I'd missed this. So yeah, I've sort of replicated my test scenario with just putting power onto that rail. This is proof that it works. We've got 4 volts there, and you should hopefully see. I had to take a slight pause there because it wasn't working, but I realized that the camera's sending out infrared, and it gets absolutely swamped by it. So I'm covering up the sensor with my finger, and hopefully you can see. It's still quite difficult to do, but you can see that it is actually working. There we go. So yeah, it's quite difficult to do. It's so sensitive. Absolutely amazing how it's just getting totally swamped by the IR. I wonder if I go a bit more. But yeah, it works. As soon as I take this away, it will blink away all day without any problem. But yeah, obviously very susceptible to IR overload from other devices. So yeah, we're all good to go. So get this back together, and let's have a look at the other remote control. So next, let's have a look at this RMT-232. This is the full feature version remote control for the SL-HF950 Sony. So that's the one with the sled, comes out the front. And these remotes are actually for the latest type. They have the later control codes for Sony equipment. So these will even work with relatively modern Sony equipment if the commands actually support it. So things like TV, for example, although they're basic, the TV functions will actually work with relatively modern flat screen Sony TVs. So that's actually quite useful. So yeah, let's put some batteries in and give it a test, and just make sure we know what's wrong with it before we take it apart. Let's crack on. So that's the first thing I'm going to have to sort. At some point batteries have been leaking and we've got quite a bit of green residue, so I need to sort that out. But I'll probably take it apart first and do that at the same time because it's gone right in the corner there. So yeah, let's put these batteries in and just see what it is doing. So not like the other remote, they do go in one way, the other way, and then the other way. And so on doesn't work. Does anything work? At the moment, no. I do wonder if maybe that corrosion is causing more problems than it was. Yeah, it seems to have got worse, i.e. it appears to be completely dead. What I was finding is the buttons up in this corner, I can't remember which ones, were not working. So, yeah. And now I don't seem to have anything at all. Oh, yes I do. Yeah, it just seems like the rest of the buttons aren't working. Because I should have a telltale there. But I don't. Yeah. Okay, let's take these batteries out and just check what's going on. Okay, so let's get these batteries out and see what's going on. Screw in the middle. I've never taken one of these apart before. I don't know whether there's screws under there. My concern is that it started off with just a few buttons not working and more are now not working. I'm just wondering if I should have looked at this a lot sooner. Somewhere there will be a manual for one of these, but I don't have that, so just have to make it up as we go along. Well, that didn't sound too bad. Yeah, so that did the trick. They're press over tabs on the top, press over lugs on the bottom. So the plectrum is actually not a bad way to do it. Do it without breaking any tabs. That's always a bonus. Oh, trying to keep that door protected as much as possible. Managed to clip it back in. And to be fair, I don't think I undid the top. Properly. Well, that's... Oh, there we go. Okay. Quite a bit going on. So the bottom of the jog there. That is quite rotten, but it's fine. It's not actually... There's a little bit that's got on the board, which we can clean up. I think I need to just clean this up a bit first and just see where we're up to. I could actually remove this and soak this in something, some vinegar or something. So the bottom board, there is a screw there, and a screw there. Top one doesn't seem to have any screws. It's just literally clipped in at the front. Should be able to take the window out. So let's have a go at doing that. Yeah, so you can see there is some nastiness going on. No doubt is causing the problems with those buttons. Doesn't look as if it's actually got on the pads, but it's obviously, well, yeah, I mean, it's because of the way this is here. Oh yeah, it's quite grubby. Yeah, so that's from the battery switch. Sorry, battery terminal. It sort of leaked through and contaminated things, and it's got onto the rubber. Well, that's not so bad. We can fix that. We can clean it up. But we can fix it's another thing. These are filthy. So I clean those. So yeah, I think isopropyl I'd start off with. I am tempted to remove the negative terminal and just give that a really good clean outside of the actual remote control. I think that's going to be the way to go. Well, I managed to remove the negative battery connector and tidied up the board fairly well, which is good news. They can get a bit, the solder can get a bit difficult to sort of melt when they've got that contaminated, but it's, well, with a bit of liquid flux, that seemed to make a huge difference. And then using some solder braid, I managed to sort of do a pretty good job actually. But the actual terminal looks okay. It is just contaminated. I don't think it's had that bad a time. So I think I'll use isopropyl just to clean up the residue on both the board and the membrane, and I'll give this a soak, and we'll take it from there. So I've actually got splashes of nastiness in here as well, so I'll clean all that off. It's just little bits of battery residue just end up floating about. I mean, you can see it's actually quite wet there. I don't know quite what's gone on there. That's weird. But anyway, I'll clean this. Oh well, yeah, it's on that side. Really weird. But anyway, I'll clean this up. Then I'm going to find a container to put this in with some vinegar, and we'll leave it soak for a few hours. So yeah, let's crack on. Quite interesting how they've actually done this. They've sort of taken like a full membrane assembly, and they've just literally cut off the buttons they don't need. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Obviously other versions and varieties of this remote control, but yeah, it's quite interesting how they've done that. So yeah, let's clean around these bigger holes because I can see bits of dust there. And then we can put this back in. I've just literally just taken this off. I've used some foam cleaner just on, obviously, the front side. Don't want to get any on the back. And just giving it a bit of a clean. So yeah, that's looking good. Just get all the muck off that I can. I wasn't too rough with it, because they can rip. I mean, this seems fairly robust, to be honest. But yeah, there we go. So that's good. So yeah, I'm going to put this to one side now, and I've cleaned it all up. I've cleaned up the switches, all the switch covers as well, and the back is all nice and clean, and any residue removed. I can see a tiny bit of mist there actually. Let's just get that out. Just in, well, let's do both of those, just because I can't get in there very well with the cloth. But yeah, that's great. So hopefully we can get this resurrected. I obviously used isopropyl, which is probably maybe not the best thing in some ways, because it does melt the varnish. And one thing you've got to be careful on this side is that you're not spreading varnish over these contacts. So I've not used much, I have to say. Isopropyl on this side. I've just literally cleaned up the pads and just the residue around them, using one tip for the actual pads and then another tip to get rid of the residue. But everything does look pretty okay. I don't think I've got any broken tracks. I'm still slightly concerned about that, which I can't seem to get off. But I'm tempted to just ignore it for now. It actually looks more like a bit of flux or something rather than battery contamination. You can see here where the battery contamination's been, and it's started to damage the copper, especially down here. But that's pretty much neutralized now. So we should be okay. But yeah, I think all we can do is just resurrect that negative terminal and solder it back in and see what happens. Maybe that's enough to fix it. I'm not really holding my breath. Interesting thing going on there with the solder as well. Not quite sure what that's all about. Might just have to put reflow some solder on that. It almost looks as if that's got contaminated. I mean, it still works, but yeah. Otherwise, I mean, the bottom board seems okay. I will give it a clean. But yeah, you can see there the where my finger's been, it's the varnish is still drying or hardening. I think it will harden. Again, it'll just take a while. But yeah, anyway, just put it to one side. Let's get this soaking. So I've let the battery terminal soak for quite a long time. There was quite a bit of residue still behind here. So I just really wanted to get it 100% clean and neutralized. And it's come out well. Didn't really want to leave it any longer than I did, because you can see that it's just starting to show signs of the copper starting to show through a little bit. I don't quite make that out, but I'm pleased with that. I just rather not have any battery residue left, and luckily it done fairly well. There's no real rot or anything there. So I'll get this put back in, and I suppose to see if things are working as they should. Let's crack on. Okay, well, let's put, I'm not going to put the screw in yet. Just to see if we get any better results from it. Still not working. I thought maybe I might be asking a little bit too much. The jug shuttle works. I mean, is it really not working? It's not, is it? This is, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? It's just like, if as soon as you know there's been contamination, just fix it, get it sorted, don't leave it. And that's what I did. I should have known better. I mean, it's been sat probably a couple of years with that little bit of contamination. That's enough to cause all these problems. Such a shame, because these remotes are lovely. It's a bit sticky there. It's not wet, it's sticky. But yeah, it's just looking very much like we've got problems with the IR. This side of it is all okay, but it's just literally the jog is all that's working. So, oh, that's a shame. So, yeah, like I say, I just thought I'm pushing my luck, really. I think what I'll do next time I test this is I will test it with my variable power supply. I have actually bought some crocodile clips, so I'll make some leads up. I can just crop clip straight on. I've actually put this together quite well. Okay, so I'm going to have to do some more fault finding. Still a bit of a smell of vinegar. So the jog part is here. If there's going to be any rot, it's going to be up here. And in this area, that's where it's going to be affected. I don't mind scraping off a bit of copper just to test continuity if I need to. I mean, the actual chip is under here, and I'm tempted just to flip this back and just see if there's anything nasty going on. I mean, I don't really see that, but it seems pretty okay. There's a bit of flux over it, and there is a little bit of contamination, but it's not, it's more dust. The ribbon looks okay. While that membrane is out, I'm just going to take the opportunity to clean the dust out of here, because it's much easier to clean this when there's no buttons in the way. Get it really nice, and it might not work, but it'll look good. Yeah. So I think what I'll do is I'll make those crop clips up and we'll stick 3 volts on it, and it's 4.5, isn't it, with 3 batteries, and just see, do some voltage checks, I suppose. It might be worth, I'm pretty confident this will work, because this sends power down to the grounding side of the bottom board, and that seems to be getting power because we've got jog. Okay, I'm going to make those clips up, and yeah, we'll take it from there. So I made my crook clips up. I've got about just over 4 volts actually. I've gone a bit low. But just testing some of these buttons, like here. I mean, these buttons weren't working. And I can't really see that. Let's move that over. So here, 2.75 volts, 2.7. Press the button, I get slightly higher voltage. So it's doing something. So I wonder if I've got a problem somewhere here. Now, on the LED, for example, I've got 4.2 volts on that side, 3.5, so it's dropping voltage. That's work. Well, I say it's working. It's on and it's dropping. I'm guessing the voltage will drop. But of course there'll be a signal on there as well. Could scope that, I suppose. But I would expect that to change. It's high going low. And we've got this little transistor here. That's the negative side. That's the positive side. There's a switch there. Another transistor there. There's actually nothing on that one. Nine volts, wow. So that's literally just dropping that voltage. So that's positive, basically. That's straight across the batteries. Positive of the batteries. So it's the negative side that's being switched to give the signal to whatever, TV, VCR, and making the LED blink. And that's then the power down to the chip. Might be worth checking that. Right, okay. Then we've got this cap. Well, this should pick up a frequency, at least, shouldn't it? What's that? 80 hertz. I just hope the chip isn't damaged somehow from everything that's gone on with the leakage. So I've removed the board. I didn't show it actually, which I really regret actually, because it was quite cool. So if I just turn this over as best I can. So that's the mechanism that sort of gives the jog switch or jog dial its feel. Could do with a good dust out as well. There are sort of spots of contamination under there, but everything looks okay. And the actual board itself looks fine. So there the optocouplers there, the jog wheel itself. So you can see the triggers, the lights, where it would drop off. Oh, I'm going to do that. I'll work that out just now. So yeah, everything seems okay. This resonator should be 480 kilohertz. So it's 480 A1. I've just been looking at the data sheet actually for it. Apparently this is automotive standard, although it could mean something completely different back in sort of the day, but I've found the modern equivalent, and it is. It's a Moriton, is it? Oh, what is it? Murata. It's a Murata. You can see the M. I might just be able to make out the M there. So I found this. They still make them, of course, I suppose. But so I am suspecting a problem with this chip, which is a Mitsubishi M50461, and yeah, I've sort of pretty much come to the conclusion that this isn't actually outputting a signal to the transistor that then drives the LEDs. But I don't know. I would like a manual or just a data sheet on this. I've been trying to look for a data sheet on this chip, and I get promised them when you sort of go in these data sheet sites. You click through and it just goes to some random page. This has got contamination on it, which is not great. Well, I say it's got contamination. I think that's just splatters of flux. I don't think there's anything to do with the battery contamination. It just seems a bit weird that it's so dead when it wasn't actually that bad. Maybe, yeah, so these are going obviously through to legs on this side, so they're sort of coming underneath the chip and going to each leg. So I suppose I could check those at some points, but I am going to leave this here. Part of me is sort of hoping maybe I can find a tatty one of these, but these are so rare now, and I sort of regret selling my other one. I actually sold it with an HF950 actually a few years ago. It must be about 4 years ago now, and literally I listed it on eBay and it sold within half an hour. Yeah, and I think the main draw was it had this jog shuttle remote control. I have read, I think it's on PAL's site, that these remotes were only supplied on later machines, but I think for the UK market, I don't think they were ever sold in the UK market. I think because of PAL and, well, not so much PAL, but like the tuning frequencies the UK use, it was such a niche market by then. They weren't going to sell the quantity. It was a high-end machine that you only got the basic remotes. So you could tune it in this country, you got a basic remote. That was that. So yeah, getting the jog dial off was actually really easy. It's just literally take off the little cert clip, and I think that goes like that. Sort of come apart, and I didn't really want it to. There will be a way that goes on. So it looks like that little, I can quite see that there's two risen bits of plastic there, and I think that locates there. Just lost a little washer as well. Or actually, I think it's that. It's that little line there. That's what I need to find. There. So that line, yeah, that's it. And then that goes on the back. I'm just doing this so you know, if you ever take one of these apart, that there are a few bits to it. That goes in the middle, and then does it? Oh, where does that go? It's falling out. I don't know where that's falling out from. Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna box this up, bag up the fine bits, and yeah. So a bit of a disappointment. I was so hopeful that this one would actually be relatively straightforward, but no, it actually turned out to be pretty badly damaged. But yeah, we will get it going at some point. I'll get parts, or maybe one of you has the manual for it, or the supplement that has the RMT-232 in it. The manual would be really useful actually if you have got it. Sony seem to be fairly good with most of their manuals for their remotes. I've got an HF950 manual, but it hasn't got this remote in it, which is a bit of a shame. So any help at all really, getting this going. I mean, this is for me as well. This is for my own 950. I have got the standard one as well, so I'm not totally without, but I would just love to get this working again. And like I say, it's such a fall for leaving this with that little bit of contamination. That was enough to break it, it would seem. Well, I was about to give up and just think, oh, that chip must be bad. And then I thought, you know, that resonator, that's, I mean, I checked it again, and it's like 80 hertz, and it's just like, it should be more like 480 kilohertz. And yeah, so I dug out an old remote control. It's well and truly had it, to be honest, but it had had a resonator in it. So I took it out. This is the old one, and the old one actually had like brown, I don't quite see it. It had brown residue. Some of it's come off now from me desoldering it, but it was decidedly not looking great. And swapped it over, and I now have remote control. I don't know if you can see that. See the LED? Probably can't see. Can I get it to focus? Probably can't see the emitting, the transmitting LED, but it's working. So I'm going to put this back together now. See if I can work out where that bit of plastic went, and yeah, blimey. I really can't believe that. But having said that, I mean, I've changed one or two overall in the past, and yeah, they do fail, but I just wasn't expecting it to be that, to be honest. But yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so let's get this back together. I worked out where that little roller went, and that's on there. In fact, I'll give it clean. I'll just put a tiny bit of, well, I've cleaned up the grease on there, and let's put a tiny bit on there. lovely. Then the dial, and I think if I put that on first, that might not be a bad idea. This is very, very fine. Probably very easily broken. It's just a washer really, from what I can see. And then there's a way this goes. So that needs to go, I think, in there. Yeah. Well, can I drop that on first? Oh, maybe. Does it go like that, or does it go like that? I think it goes like that. Then I have to, yeah, that must be it. So put that on there. Oh, what am I doing wrong there then? Oh, of course, this has to go. So this has to go on first. So the whole thing has to go on in one go. Which is fine. There we go. That's now right. Then pull that over. Yeah, that's working. And I've got to get this bit. And this doesn't really matter. Yeah, it seems to be alright. Well, I think that's done. Doesn't seem quite right, but we'll see. This feels terribly tight. Done something wrong there. So that little bit of plastic actually rides on the top of this bit of plastic. So yeah, it doesn't actually fit in because otherwise the peg can't go the full distance. So yeah, that caught me out a bit. There we have it. Super. Well, we're sort of working, so that is doing what it's supposed to do, which is great. I can turn it back off as well, which I couldn't do before. So that's something. And then play, fast forward, rewind, stop, pause, record, and the index, trick modes. And now the numbers, that's where things start getting interesting. I think display works, but 1 doesn't, 4, 7, 0 doesn't, but the rest, yes, 1 and, but 2 and does work. These work, and none of these in this top corner work, which was the first thing that went. Now I think is probably one of the through PCB connections that's probably rotted, but I'm happy to leave it as is for now. I mean, the only thing that's really annoying for me is the standby on button, but that's not the end of the world, and the main things do work, so I'm going to leave it there. But we will return to this in a future video, and just see why these few buttons don't work, but the rest of it is really pleased with that. I was quite worried that maybe it was something a lot more serious than just that resonator, but yeah, I think that's a result. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in another video. Bye for now.